88.1 WHCR and Comcast Cable. You can call in live on the air at area code 868-436, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Of course, the area code is 313. That's 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. And now let's go live to the Scriptural Discussion. The Son-of-Man.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you once again who have the sincere hunger and thirst for truth and righteousness. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace from the Lord of the worlds, who is the God of peace, Almighty God Allah. May Allah's salam alaikum. By now, I think it has dawned on you all that I like to argue. I have found for the past 40 years that you learn more by arguing with the person than you ever will just from watching them and seeing them mind their P's and Q's, so to speak. I remember watching the Matrix, the one that had Reloaded, and when Neo met the guardian of the Oracle, he fought him, and the guardian told him that in fighting him, he really, you never know who you're dealing with until you fight with them. And so many words. And I bore witness, that's the truth. You always, if you really want to know what type of person you are talking with, no matter what they claim to be, then you need to argue in the best manner with them. And it will tell you something about the person. That's why I always welcome people who, as the messenger said, the Son of Man have searched the universe of man for that mystery God. Mystery meaning everybody keep talking about God and that he's a he. Obviously, they keep saying him. And Yet when you ask them to bring him in here, so I want to meet him, then they give you all kind of answers. And the messenger said to me, he said, then you say he's not to be seen. Well, then I don't want to see him if he don't want to see me. Now that was a good answer. So I've come to the conclusion that you don't have no God that you represent. You just out here making up something and throwing it up here at me just to try to justify rejecting me. Then when I ask you to come in here and talk with me about what you have a problem with me about, you have nothing. And you fulfilled the book even in that, where they hated me without a cause. And that's written. I ain't done nothing to none of y'all. You can't find nobody out there that can accuse me of mistreating them. I ain't mistreated you. Black or white people. I take your insults and still try to help you. You ain't found me harboring no ill will toward nobody who got ill will toward me. You don't even have to correct me if I say something to you that was a little bit overboard. I'll come back and correct myself. And beg your pardon. You are some unjust people. And Allah told me, don't be like you. He said, be not like that rebellious house. Be thou not rebellious like that rebellious house. They are rebellious, son of man. The very nature of the prophets and the knowledge that they brought was humility and submission. That's what the word Muslim means. It means one who submits, not one who rebels. Sometimes you've noticed, you don't have to take my word for it. Just notice sometimes people have come in here and I couldn't get a word in. I'd go to say something, they start talking again. And I said, well, okay, you go ahead and say whatever it is you think you need to say, and I'll listen so that maybe you can listen to me. Then they tell me, well, go ahead. Well, go ahead. But because they really don't have nothing to say. They are just afraid of the truth that they know is about to be said by me. I mean, look, I started off my meetings. I start off every class now, inviting people just like I'm finna do now. Come on in here and tell me what the problem you have with me and why you not following me and why you don't think nobody else should. This is called a marriage supper. In the marriage ceremony that you are used to going to, if you grew up in America, you always hear the priest or the preacher or the reverend or whoever is conducting it, they would say, if anyone is present that can show good cause why this man and this woman should not be united in marriage or holy matrimony, let them speak now. Or what? Say it loud. Forever. You know what forever means? From now on. Don't tomorrow, next week, or whatnot, don't you say nothing. Because when you had a chance to say something, you didn't say a word. Now, let the ones who've been sliding up next to you, telling you that you are making a mistake to follow me, let them come in here in this public forum and tell everybody why. Like I'm standing up here telling you that you should follow me. You know, it's just like with Donald Trump. He ain't crazy as he playing. You know how I know that? He go after everybody else that says something about him, and I say something about him just about every time I come on here. And he don't come after me. So he ain't that crazy. You see, it's one thing to now understand something. I know he has mental problems. And I also know how to prove it if I can get him in there. Of course, I live in an insane asylum here. I got people. Now let me show you how insane the people are in this country. It's a functional insanity, but it's still insanity. They putting on gun shows everywhere. Every time you look up, it's gun show up in Natchez or in Vidalia or Vicksburg, and that's just in Mississippi. All right. Everybody all of a sudden on a get a gun kick, and they're getting guns. And you ask them who they're getting the guns. What you need a gun for? Because it's then they say, I got to protect my family. And every one of them claiming they got to protect their family. You have to protect your family from who? Well, it looked like the military is about to be used against us. Just like I asked the question before, do you honestly think that the sons and daughters of the American people who have enlisted in the military can be ordered to come back and kill up their own people, or to help some crazy president or some crazy people in the government mistreat their parents? Do you honestly think that? I mean, even when I was out in the grave, partying and smoking, drinking, and doing other things, I had no business. I wasn't that stupid. You remember what I told you about what makes America great? And more than one person said the Constitution. Your sons and daughters didn't take no oath of allegiance to the President of the United States. The oath that we all took was to defend the Constitution of the United States. Which means you can't order me to go and hurt the people that the Constitution protects. I don't care who you are. So who you let convince you that you need protection from your own military people? The people who's out there protecting the document that gives you protection. I tell you who did it. People who trying to get you to tear your own country up. You know, you got people who would pretend. See, I'm used to, look here, if anybody ought to know about what it looks like when you have people on the inside working to overthrow you or working to keep you from making progress. If anybody know what that looked like, it ought to be any black man in America that's been paying attention. You got all these people claiming they love black people, right? And yet look at our condition. Everybody and his brother coming up with some scheme on how they're going to help black people, right? And then after they get they scheme together, I have to call it a scheme. Once they get the scheme together, then they start asking you for some money. They put the scheme out there. But you never see nothing come of the money that you gave them. But you hear a whole lot of good talk. Like that Fred Sanford and Son, you remember the woman said, I'm going to fix you some fried chicken and some mashed potatoes and gravy and some corn off the cob. And I mean, she had their mouth watering. But when it came time to get up and go fix it, something was wrong with her back. And they said, don't worry, we got you. There's no reason why every American citizen should have a gun. And let's face it. Now I'm gonna tell you flat out. I done seen how y'all roll. You know, y'all with your little nickels that you knock. But trust me, if the American military did decide to get rid of us, you don't stand a chance. That's how bad they is. Now I've been in the Marine Corps, and the Marine Corps alone is that's a bad group of fellas. You know. Now I'm just telling you. The Army got a bad group of fellas, and you know the Green Berets and them people, some bad fellas, man. Now, if they wanted to come against the civilians, it ain't a thing you could do. Those people are professionals. You get your nickels that you knock running around here playing your little game or thinking that you do a little target practice. Them targets don't shoot back. You'd be surprised how fast the fight go out of you when you see people next to you getting shot and blood everywhere, and you there shooting and you didn't have the slightest idea. There ain't no video game. And the only ones that's scared of these little terrorists, little rocks in the pocket terrorists, the military people ain't scared of them people. Actually, they're scared of the military. That's why they slipping around doing stuff. Well, let's just tell the truth. They the ones scared. And they got good reason to be. President Obama said about this. They got one word: drones. If we find you, we can get you. That's what he told them. And he was using and going after people so much they started saying he was overdoing it. Now he's too weak. They don't know what they want to call him. So, and whoever this is trying to call me knows that I'm in the meeting right now. So, and if they don't, they should, as long as I've been doing this. So, this thing about getting Americans to buy guns, they know the military ain't finna do that, finna do nothing to American citizens. You saw a good example of that when Mr. Cliven Bundy's son them took over that place. Did the military people shoot them down? The federal agents didn't go in there, and because those are American citizens. And the Constitution that you took an oath to uphold will not allow you to go and mow down your own citizens. If they protesting or whatever, you arrest them or whatever if they're doing something. Don't go there and murder them. Because that's all it is. I don't care what you may think. Just because you got a gun, that don't mean that it's not murder. That man is a professional, been trained in all of, what do you got? If I'd have got out on the street and challenged Joe Frazier or Muhammad Ali and ball up my fist talking about I'm gonna knock you out, and he hit me, he's the one that's wrong. She know I ain't got no win against him. And they'll put him in jail. Because his fists are deadly weapons. Mine is just that's a fool with a weapon. Do you understand? He got to be a fool going out there challenging that man. Huh? Okay. So likewise, they know what they want is for you, the civilian people, to be shooting at each other. Division is a shortcut to subtraction. You do know that, right? If you got one, say, for instance, what percentage of America is black? What they say? 12%? That what they say? Okay, so 12% of the population of America, they say, is black people. Okay, what percentage is Latinos or Spanish Americans? Can y'all give me some statistics on that? Now notice now, the Black Americans, Spanish Americans, and you got what others you got? Japanese Americans. So immigrants other than white make up over half the country. And a good portion of the military. Now, what happens if you can take all of them and race bait them? Then you weaken this country greatly. You've taken away their ability to, you know, like you got an old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I guess next you'll be helping another country attack your own country. If you crazy. You know, so you got to be careful how you let people, you know, now understand something. You're not doing yourself no favor by putting a muzzle on people's mouth. Let me show you something here. I remember when this lady, and understand something. I don't agree that when people tried to call the lady called Minister Farrakhan a bigot. Minister Farrakhan is not a bigot. You know, he get out in public and argue with people. Everybody that think they can argue, they argue with everybody, but they won't argue with me. That's like going out challenging Muhammad Ali. They ain't gonna do that. So, but Minister Farrakhan, he talked to people. He, you know, but the lady called him a bigot. And Phil Donahue said, she said, why do you let that bigot? And she said, how do you know he's a bigot? I mean, Donahue said, well, excuse me, ma'am, how do you know he's a bigot? She said, listen to him. And Donahue said, that's my point. You wouldn't be able to if I listened to you. That is one of the strong points of freedom of speech. If you give people their freedom, then it enables your people. Give your people some credit. That if they hear something that don't make no sense, they got sense enough to know it don't make sense. But what if you cut the person off? What if you refuse to let the person be heard? That makes many people curious why they don't let that man speak. Just because you know he a fool don't mean everybody else know he a fool. So it's an old saying. You know, it's better to remain silent and be thought of as a fool than to open your mouth and remove all reasonable doubt. Huh? Okay, so in America, they let you open your mouth and remove all doubt about what you are. Huh? You know, at some point when a person keeps saying foolish things, it ceases to be funny and gets to the point where, oh, wait a minute, is he serious? That's what's done happened with Donald Trump. Now people are really asking the question: is that man, is he playing with a full deck? Huh? Because here's a man that wants to be president of the United States and don't have sense enough to shut his mouth at a grieving family. Who, if they do say, I mean, he even lied on the poor man, because the man didn't say Donald Trump hadn't read the Constitution. He asked Donald Trump, have you read the Constitution? Because a lot of things that he's talking about he wants to do, the Constitution is against. But instead of him being presidential and recognizing that you don't insult the parents of a man who gave the ultimate sacrifice in the service of your nation, you don't insult them. That's not just a mockery to the man who died. It's a mockery to every other serviceman and woman that may pay the ultimate or lay down their life. Will you treat their parents the same way? Then what are they fighting for? Even Rev, you remember what he said to me when I told him I'd been in the military? Well, we was arguing. Do you remember him saying, thank you for your service? You don't have to agree with everything that the person said to recognize that they had a right to say it, and that if you the president, if you running for president, you could show that you understand the gravity of that position by recognizing that even if you get in there, if you win, millions of people didn't want you. But are you aware that you become their president too? And so you don't get into personal back and forths with the people that you say you want to serve. You do know that the president and the government is the servant of the people, not the other way around. You notice everything has a term to it. Dictatorships don't have no term. You get a term, just like when you go to prison, they put a term on it. Is that right? I mean, the people put you in there. Right? Well, likewise, the people elected these people. And they walk around here acting like they the boss. You know, man got the wrong understanding. And that shows that he don't belong in that office. Because he cannot feel. You know, a president, he has to have the ability to do what is called empathize with people. If they crying, you have to be able to cry with them. And you have to know when it's time to feel their pain and when it's time to stop your country from crying and tell it. Just like when Pearl Harbor was hit. President Roosevelt didn't stand up in front of the people crying. And he dried their tears up. This ain't no time to cry. And he rallied the American people by each other's side. That is the job of leadership. Not to find out what you can bait people with and turn them against each other. Because anytime you claim to love your country and you put its citizens one against the other, you don't love that country. Because you are doing that which will cause the downfall of that country. You are eradicating patriotism when you turn one part of a nation against the other part. Patriotism comes from the root patriarch. Pater means father. Now, fathers may disagree with things that their children do, But make no mistake, fathers and mothers, they love their children. Otherwise, you don't deserve that title. They just may not love what their children are doing. That's why you have laws and rules that govern how we supposed to conduct ourselves. And we stop you from doing things that are detrimental to the family. But we're not interested in killing you. Any government that's predisposed to murder its own people is not a government. And the people have a duty to overthrow it. Just as much as you would do your best to get rid of a cancer inside of your body that's destroying the body. You don't need nothing in your body giving orders for self-destruct. So, yes. So it's almost 50-50 now. 60% white, 40% other than white. So if you put all of them against each other, then you have cut America's strength almost in half. There's no strength in numbers, there's strength in unity. Without unity, it makes no difference how many numbers you have. 10 people united can rule 6 billion people. That's a bunch of individuals. The accomplishments that I showed you on these videos and whatnot, that wasn't my accomplishments. That was the accomplishments of us working together. The few people that's with me, we work together and we accomplish these things. We are truly in unity. The United States of America is only great because of its united states. And the Constitution is the unity. And when you start disregarding that, you tearing up your own house. So I'm not here to help you destroy yourself. Allah said, "Son of man, give them warning from me. When I say to the wicked that he shall surely die, if thou givest him not warning, warn the wicked man from his wicked way to save his life. Your way is your understanding. Just like I told you before, people have taken the Constitution and did with it what they do with your words even right now. You may say something. Just like the man asked Donald Trump, had he read the Constitution, and told him, I have a copy that I will give you. When it come back from Donald Trump, he said a man insulted him by accusing him of not having read the Constitution. The man didn't accuse him of not having read it. He asked him, have you read it? The appropriate answer would be, yes, I have. And I don't need yours. But thank you anyway. Now, if you wanted to, participate in that kind of thing. But by not being able to diffuse that situation only showed that Donald Trump does not have the mental capacity to be president of the United States and to be the commander-in-chief of the military of the United States. How do you order a man to go and perhaps die if that man thinks that you have no respect for him? If that man thinks that his life means nothing to you? You ain't had sense enough to pretend. So, no. Anyway, I'm going to leave that alone and let you see some things for yourself that I was just telling you.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
That person from last night is putting up lies about us on Twitter. I don't know if you wanted to hear some of those.
Whatever lies he putting up, he doing it by himself. Ain't nobody paying that man no attention. When you invite a person to come in to discuss with you whatever they, whatever problem they may have, and matter of fact, I didn't put no amen on that. What is he saying?
He says, hopefully the new nation of Islam isn't involved with terrorism overseas. I hear they are outing gay Muslims and having them punished. That's one of the things.
Well, what you do is a man like that, his punishment should be hell, and that is what I say to him. To hell with him, and amen and amen. What's his name? Craig Hingley. Well, Mr. Hingley, you leave me no choice. Sitting up out there lying and going on on us. To hell with you, Mr. Craig Hingley. Amen and amen. So now that's all I care to hear about him. You can, that is one of the things that I've told so many of you. And that's one thing that even people who hate me, they know that anytime that somebody got something to say about me, I'm willing to discuss it with them. I don't run away from, if you think that you got something that I'm teaching that is wrong, then you're welcome to come in here and discuss it with me. But if it's a dog barking at you behind us, you can't stop every time you come to a fence and the dog is behind it barking and going on the outside, or what? Dogs. That's what the book teach you. So they have no time for that. And the people don't either. They don't want to hear that. Now, let us also go into this, what I was telling you earlier.
Welcome back. We're joined now by retired Rear Admiral Jamie Barnett, who spent more than 3 decades in the U.S. Navy and Naval Reserve. He's now a Clinton campaign surrogate and joins us today from Washington, D.C. Admiral Barnett, thanks for coming on the show. We just heard a couple of representatives of the Trump campaign say that Donald Trump was well within his rights to attack Mr. and Mrs. Khan because they started it. What do you think about that?
Well, I think what Donald Trump did is actually despicable and reprehensible. I mean, the fact of the matter is, all he really had to do is thank them for the service of their son and the sacrifice of this family. And instead, he's continually and just keeps doubling down on going back against them. I mean, it's alarming to me, just from a decency standpoint. But from the standpoint of wanting a commander-in-chief who has empathy with our Gold Star families who have already lost someone, it gives me some concern about his ability to make decisions of committing American troops in the future for those Blue Star families who have loved ones currently serving.
Admiral, I want to ask you this question in a sensitive way. Now that the Khans have entered the political arena, obviously we all mourn their loss and respect them and cherish their First Amendment rights to speak out. But are they now, not having spoken at a political event, now fair game to be criticized, to be attacked even in the arena of politics?
So Mr. and Ms. Khan made the decision to speak out against what they thought was just outrageous comments by Donald Trump, indicating that their son would not have even been allowed into the United States. So there is certainly rough and tumble in politics, but the fact of the matter is that Gold Star families should be treated with respect, and we have not seen that. All of our services have
See, now that's the way a military man thinks. I mean, the military does not vote. Whoever is the president of the United States is voted in there by the people. And the military is not allowed to vote because you can't pick and choose who's going to be your commanding officer. But a military man understands that at any time he may be called upon to lay down his life. But how can he trust someone to tell him to lay down his life that thinks that his life is valueless anyway? If Donald Trump wants to go back and forth with any person, whether they've lost loved ones or whatnot, he has that right until he stepped in the arena to say he wants to be the commander-in-chief of the armed forces and the president or the chief executive of the American government. When you get into that position, there's certain arguments you don't have. It's certain arguments you don't participate in. And if he doesn't know that, he is unfit to be running for that office. You see, whenever you look at any part of America as you against them, you're unfit to be the president of the United States. That's what many of our people don't understand. They wanted to think somehow that President Obama is to be held to a different standard than other presidents that were in there. That he's somehow supposed to be the president of the United States and a black activist at the same time. That's not his job. The president of the United States has to remain that. Period. And whenever you decide that you want to become an activist, well, then it's time for you to get out of that general practitioner's position and get into the position of a specialist. The president of the United States, that's like an MD. He's a general practitioner. He have to not just see your view, he got to see everybody's point of view. And everybody's not able to do that. You know, but this military man, a Navy man, he understands the gravity of what Donald Trump is doing, and he don't like it, and I don't either.
Values. For the Navy, it's honor, courage, commitment, but all of them have similar things, one of which includes integrity and respect. And really, if the commander-in-chief cannot exhibit any of the core values of our military, should he be commander-in-chief? Admiral, let me ask you, we saw Donald Trump over the weekend make a statement that seemed to suggest that he did not know that Russia was in Ukraine and has been for a couple of years. This is part of a constellation of comments he's made about Vladimir Putin, postures towards NATO. Just taken together, what's your view of what Trump's posture is and what it means and how he deals with Russia? Which country is he running for president for? I mean, it's alarming the way that he has defended Vladimir Putin, seems completely unknowledgeable about the world events, defends Putin and when he's accused of killing journalists, and does not seem to really understand the importance of our NATO alliance. I mean, to kind of paraphrase Mr. Khan, I pull it out and say, Mr. Trump, have you read Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty? I mean, this is common defense among our nations, and we have a Russia that is obviously in an expansionist mode, and he seems to be a sympathizer more with them than he is with the cons.
Admiral, you know so many people in the Navy now who've been in the Navy over the years. I'm wondering what your sense is of the breakdown of how many what percentage supporting Secretary Clinton, what percentage supporting Donald Trump?
Well, you know, we're very fortunate in the United States to have a non-political military. So people currently serving in uniform, and when I was in uniform, we did not express political beliefs. But I will tell you from the people that I've talked to who have retired or left the military, whereas a lot of them are generally considered to tend toward the Republicans, there are a lot that are either not saying anything or they're actively coming forward, and it's things just like this that raise concerns. I mean, I don't think in the history of our democracy have we ever had someone who is actually a threat, not that would cause a threat, but would be a threat to our men and women in uniform. I'm afraid that his lack of knowledge and his lack of temperament will get us into a war that we do not need to be, and this lack of empathy plays into that.
All right, Admiral Barnett, thank you for coming on the show. We appreciate your time. We will. I first raised the issue of Donald Trump's mental health last year when so much of the political media was still just chuckling along with his campaign. And now finally the media has stopped laughing about the Trump campaign and is more and more coming to recognize the clear and present danger that President Obama identified today. Donald Trump is unfit for the office of the presidency.
It's now becoming more and more clear that the biggest disqualifying factor for Donald Trump as president is his mental health.
Republican nominee is unfit to serve as president. He keeps on proving it. I fielded calls all day yesterday. Everybody was talking about his mental health. I'm afraid the election's going to be rigged. I have to be honest. He's a black hole. There is nothing inside him to sustain and make him feel good or worthy. What does this say about your party? That this is your standard bearer? Don't worry about that, baby. I love babies. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. Sometimes you wonder who the baby is. Right? You're not going to find me being critical of Mr. and Mrs. Khan. It's just inappropriate for us in this context to be criticizing them. Why are you still endorsing it?
I have to support the nominee of the party, and if I change my mind, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Even if you can't stand Donald Trump, if you think Donald Trump is the worst, you're going to vote for him.
He's a deeply, deeply damaged human being. He has no awareness of what it is he's doing and the kind of pain he's inflicting. Without empathy, a leader is no leader. There has to come a point at which you say, enough.
This is the last word on campaign 2016.
Today, President Obama said the words that no incumbent president has ever said about a candidate nominated to be his successor: unfit to serve.
Yes, I think the Republican nominee is unfit to serve as president. I said so last week, and he keeps on proving it. The notion that he would attack a Gold Star family that have made such extraordinary sacrifices on behalf of our country. The fact that he doesn't appear to have basic knowledge around critical issues in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, means that he's woefully unprepared to do this job.
The very first thing on the president's list there is the thing that changed the presidential campaign this weekend: Donald Trump attacking a Gold Star family, the parents of Army Captain Humayun Khan, who was killed in action in Iraq in 2004 when he saved the lives of his fellow soldiers and many other bystanders. Captain Khan's parents made their first television interview appearance on this program Friday night, and shortly after that, Donald Trump began lashing out at them. Most of the country responded to Trump's attacks with indignation, including many Republicans. You don't have to have been watching Donald Trump very attentively to not be surprised that he attacked Mr. and Mrs. Khan, because he attacks everyone who doesn't praise him. But apparently some people made the mistake of thinking there was a limit to Donald Trump's cruelty. In the first Republican debate, Donald Trump claimed that his public cruelty to Rosie O'Donnell should be forgiven because he was talking about Rosie O'Donnell.
You called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't.
Notice that the Republican audience loved that. They agreed with Donald Trump. But there's no such thing as cruelty. It's all laughable as long as it's aimed at Rosie O'Donnell. And much of the media seemed to have no problem with that. They forgot that Donald Trump called New York Times columnist Gail Collins a dog. And she's not Rosie O'Donnell. I wasn't even slightly surprised that Donald Trump attacked Mr. and Mrs. Khan. No one should have been surprised that he tried to demean Mrs. Khan as a Muslim woman who is not allowed to speak, even though she had already spoken to the nation on this program before he publicly attacked her. It was a sick thing to do, and there is plenty of reason to believe Donald Trump did it because he is sick, mentally ill. No matter how many times Donald Trump called women dogs, most in the political media were never going to question his mental health. But the line he crossed over the weekend with the Khan family has finally directed the question of what's wrong with Donald Trump at the right target: his mental health.
Everybody was asking me about his mental health. It was all everybody was talking about yesterday. It's not like there was talking points that was shot out by the DNC or by anybody else. Everybody was talking about his mental health yesterday. Everybody was calling me saying, what's happening to him? What is wrong with him? You know, somebody's got to do a psychological profile of the guy and figure out why he acts the way he acts, and is he really healthy? It's unhinged. It's not the Donald Trump that I've known for over a decade.
In the Washington Post this morning, Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Eugene Robinson's piece carried the headline question, "Is Donald Trump just plain crazy?" Gene Robinson wrote, "I thought he was being crazy like a fox. Now I am increasingly convinced that he's just plain crazy. At this point, it would be irresponsible to ignore the fact that Trump's grasp on reality appears to be tenuous at best."
I spoke indirectly and directly with President Putin, who could not have been nicer. If Putin wants to go in, and I got to know him very well because we were both on 60 Minutes. We were stablemates, so we did very well that night. I never met Putin. I don't know who Putin is.
Okay, I'm going to read you a list of behavioral traits, and you tell me through the TV if this reminds you of anyone. Having an exaggerated sense of self-importance. Expecting to be recognized as superior even without achievements that warrant it. Exaggerating your achievements and talents. Being preoccupied with fantasies about success, power, brilliance, beauty, or the perfect mate. Believing that you are superior and can only be understood by or associate with equally special people. Requiring constant admiration. Having a sense of entitlement, expecting special favors and unquestioning compliance with your expectations, taking advantage of others to get what you want, having an inability or unwillingness to recognize the needs and feelings of others, being envious of others and believing others envy you, behaving in an arrogant or haughty manner. Those are the diagnostic criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. Listed with any illness. These lists with any illness are not every patient shows every symptom. You have to have a really huge narcissistic personality disorder to exhibit every one of those symptoms every day in every public moment of your life as Donald Trump.
Now remember something. He's not making fun. He's not joking. This is something that most of the candidates that were running against Donald Trump had already said he was unfit, including Chris Christie. This is like when he said the Republican audience. I mean, I don't know how much of a Republican audience that was. These is the people that just got into the party because Donald Trump was running, and they, the Ku Klux Klan and a bunch of people with way out ideas about what America needs to go to. They hadn't even thought about the fact that if they had had their way, if Hitler had had his way, there wouldn't be no America. And most of them wouldn't have passed muster with Hitler. Well, I'm just telling you the truth. Hitler had his own ideas of what the white race should be, and most of these here wouldn't have passed. So. People always, ignorant people, I should say, people who are half knowledgeable of a thing, that have not really studied the thing, they adopt thing, the part that they like, not realizing that there was stuff in there that would have caused them to not have survived it. But anyway, just listen to him, and they're gonna have a discussion about Donald Trump's mental health.
Always does. A German physician was the first to note the condition now known as pathological lying back in 1891. Here is a perfect example of just how sick Donald Trump's lying is.
We accept the recommendations of the debate commission. 3 debates, 1 VP debate. Well, I'll tell you what I don't like. It's against 2 NFL games. I got a letter from the NFL saying, this is ridiculous. Why are the debates against? Because the NFL doesn't want to go against the debates because the debates are going to be pretty massive from what I understand.
That's what Donald Trump looks like when he's lying. He looks exactly the same as when he's telling you he loves his children, which is not a lie. There is nothing different about the way he speaks when he is lying. He didn't get a letter from the NFL. He knew he was lying about that. But that's not the sick part. Lying in and of itself isn't sick. Here's your choice about that particular Donald Trump lie. He is so sick that he told the lie knowing that the lie could be checked and proven to be a lie, but he couldn't stop himself from telling that lie. Or he is so sick, his mind is incapable of grasping that the lie he was telling could be and would be proven a lie within minutes, as it was when the NFL immediately said, of course they never sent him a letter. The pathological liar leaves behind lies the way an elephant's foot leaves dead ants behind with every step, never looking back. Never feeling anything other than the exhilaration of telling the lie that makes Donald Trump feel so important. A big guy who gets letters from the NFL. Joining us now to consider all of this, Dr. George Simon, clinical psychologist and an expert on manipulators. He's the author of In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative.
Now, before I let you see this, I want to remind you, what makes you think that a person who lied to you to get what they wanted, going all of a sudden when they get in the Oval Office, gonna start telling you the truth? Would you please explain that to me, how your mind works? And you really want him for your president? Where's all of these people that, what, the news media putting some props out there or something? You would think that some of his supporters would come in here and say something. Do you know how it makes you look to be supporting a man that's every time he opened his mouth, a lie fly out? Hey.
People. Also with us, E.J. Dionne, opinion writer for the Washington Post and an MSNBC political analyst, and Mark Singer, staff writer at the New Yorker and author of the book Trump and Me. George Simon, start us off here. This talk has been going on now, certainly starting with Morning Joe this morning on this network, but it's been coming to this for a while. There've been various pieces written about Trump's mental health here and there. How should we think about this?
distinction between mental illness and personality and character disturbances. There's a difference. Sometimes we see people's way of looking at the world, their way of dealing with other people, the very style they adopt of interacting with the world at large. Sometimes we look at that and we see a pattern, a set of attitudes, a pattern of relating that boggles our minds, and we think that it represents some form of mental illness or insanity. But this is a style that appears to work for a lot of people. It appears to get them what they want. It gets them the success that they strive for. In their own minds, they're winning at the game of life, and so they adopt these strategies thinking that it works for them. And there's a big difference between personality and character and mental illness.
Mark Singer, how would you expect these traits to work in the Oval Office?
Well, I hate to even think about it, of course, but what George Simon just said is absolutely consistent with what I observed. I spent a lot of time with Donald Trump almost 20 years ago, and actually his lying was so reflexive, it didn't bother me. I just said, this is the way the guy talks. I mean, it was so transparent. I remember one time I went to Trump Tower to meet him on a weekend day, and I'm waiting in the lobby, and the concierge says, Mr. Trump says, come upstairs. So I get out of the elevator, there's Trump, and he said, I thought I'd show you the apartment. I don't normally do this. If the apartment ain't been on Lifestyles and it's been famous, I can't admit it.
You've seen the apartment on TV already.
Sure, all the time. And it had been widely publicized. And so I just said, okay, well, that's okay. It didn't it didn't undermine my pleasure at seeing the excess of his home.
John, what we're hearing from Mark Singer is what we heard from Tony Schwartz, who wrote Donald Trump's autobiography. He's credited as a co-writer on the book. And that is that there's no surprise about who they're seeing now. He's always been this way.
Right. And I think the question that we have to answer is, what happened to make us have this conversation now? You raised it a long time ago. There have been articles since he announced his candidacy about whether he had narcissistic personality disorder or other problems. And I think that for people who aren't psychiatrists or psychologists, what he did to the Khan family shook them in a way that nothing else could, because here was a family that had lost their son, a mom and dad who lost their son in service to the country, and instead of giving a million different answers he could have given to George Stephanopoulos about what Mr. Khan said about that convention, he treated a family that had lost their son with cruelty and brutality and political calculation that I think just threw everybody into a different place. And once people saw that, they then began to go back and say, wait a minute, what about all of this lying? And there have been lies by Trump from the very beginning. And what about his attacks on everybody who crossed him? Everybody who crossed him. Does that tell us something? But I'm still not sure we would be here if he hadn't done this awful thing that he did to the Khan family.
Let's listen to what he said to Bill O'Reilly tonight when Bill O'Reilly was trying to advise him that he shouldn't be getting in fights with Gold Star families, and he especially should not be picking on the mother of Captain Khan. Let's listen to this.
You can fight me, you can come at me, but if there's some little Muslim woman who loses her son, you can't. You just can't, no matter what she does. She could set you on fire, and you can say, thank you, I hated those trousers. I know. You know, you just got to let it go. I didn't fight her. Let's hold you over. We'll talk but please politics. Remember, I was viciously attacked, and all I did was respond to it, and it ends up being a 4-day story.
Now, there's two guys who both need a lot of analysis. Bill O'Reilly's depiction of some little Muslim woman, that's the way he wants to describe Mrs. Khan. But Donald Trump says, I didn't fight her, and then please remember I was viciously attacked. And what he never said, what he never could bring himself to say in that conversation with Bill O'Reilly, is a single positive word about anyone named Khan. Not Mr. Khan, not Mrs. Khan, and not Captain Khan, who's been dead 12 years now. And George Simon, he's denying in his response to Bill O'Reilly that he got in a fight with these people over the weekend that we all saw.
Yes, and that's a common thing for folks with character disturbances to do. It's not that they don't know what they do. It's simply that they feel entitled to do it. And Donald Trump, by the way, is not the only.
Now you hear what the psychologist said. Donald Trump actually did feel that he was entitled to defend himself against the grieving family of a soldier who had died fighting in a cause for America. He didn't give it a thought that he's running for president. And he did not summon, there was nothing in him to summon the character that is required at the moment to make him realize that as a private citizen, yes, I have that right. But as the president of the United States, I do not have that right. They have the right to vent and to say whatever they want, considering they've lost their son. And I have a duty as the president to acknowledge their loss and to tell them that I feel them, and that I'm sorry that I gave you even the impression that if I gave you that impression. But no, he felt he had the right to defend himself. So even though he's running for president, he's still the you fired person. It's like a car that ain't got but one gear, and that's first. And he just take off and he just go. A go-kart. He's in Indianapolis 500 driving a go-kart. Well, that's what it amounts to. He got one speed. Once you see him, there's no more levels to him. You see, he's in an arena that they had to lower the bar in order to pass him. Now, many of them are regretting the fact that they lowered that bar. And they should be regretting it. And 62% of the people, when they asked them, I think it was 62 or 65% said it ain't too late to change candidates. But he is what Grover Norquist think he wanted. But if they think that they can turn Donald Trump into a rubber stamp, they're in for a rude awakening. He probably been ordered somebody to get rid of somebody like Grover Norquist. I'm just telling you. I mean that man. That one thing about him, he is what he is. And they complaining about him right already. Nobody tells him what to do. Even people that he hires to tell him what to do don't tell him what to do. Do you understand? So, he's stuck on what you see. And he has no business in that arena.
Person who has this problem. We live in an age of character disturbance. It's unfortunately the defining issue of our time. That's why I've spent my career writing and talking about it. In one way, I'm kind of glad that we are having this national discussion these days, because our problems are not really rooted in our economic woes or our other social ills. It all goes down to character, and we're having a great discussion right now, and we're getting a real lesson in what can happen
when these disturbances come to an extreme.
Mark Singer, your reaction to George Simon's point that Donald Trump believes he's entitled to do it. It seems to me he believes he's always justified in whatever he says.
Oh, he absolutely believes that. I do wonder, though, I've thought a lot about this question of does he believe his own lies? Mm-hmm. And I'm not a doctor. I do wonder, though, if there isn't actually some alternate universe, alternate reality that he inhabits all the time. And, of course, all the traits that you ascribe to narcissists fit within that universe. He's remarkably consistent. That's why you're absolutely correct to say none of this is a surprise.
And, E.J. Dionne, we have this tradition in the country where presidential candidates release medical records. Donald Trump released the most ridiculous phony letter a doctor's ever written in America, saying essentially that Donald Trump's the healthiest man in America months and months ago. But we've never asked for and never been given any mental health evaluations for these people, which is probably more important than their actual physical health.
Yeah, that letter that the doctor released read like it had been written by Donald Trump. Yes. Maybe with a little help from Vladimir Putin. I mean, it was just an amazing thing. And yeah, I think that it would be, we want all of their medical records, and that would include records on psychiatric help. I mean, so the psychiatric thing is tricky because if somebody is a decent, reasonably normal person who wants to be better and seek psychiatric help, we shouldn't sort of hold that against them, and you worry what the media might do with that. But in a case like this, where there are so many things obvious, we really want to know more. But I think this whole story also is a warning to the media. We tend to look at somebody and judge them by whether they win. So if Lil Marco or Lion Ted or all that nasty stuff he was doing kind of without a bounds, but it worked, we kind of let it go. And it really took a big event, a particular kind of event, to force everybody to face up to how often he lies and how often he attacks people, and the fact that he never gives ground or apologizes even when he obviously should. And it's a blessing for the voters that this has happened early enough that we can take a really hard look at who this guy is.
George Simon, do you have any advice for voters about how to watch a candidate like this? We've never had a candidate like this for president with this kind of behavior, or any advice for the media about how to deal with a candidate like this?
Well, I think the country is getting a real lesson on how important character is and how important it is that we hold people to account. What we believe really matters. What we believe about each other really matters. The attitudes we hold, how we regard one another, how we treat one another. These things really matter, and it's going to matter to the voters come this November, I think.
George Simon, Mark Singer, and E.J. Dionne, thank you all for joining us tonight. Really.
So you notice it's getting real now. The state of the union called the United States of America, it does not just depend on the Constitution. It also depends on the character of the American people and how you feel about one another. That's why it's so important that leadership does not enter office with divisive, with rhetorical pandering that divides the citizens against each other. If you spend your time, you heard the old saying, you are what you eat. You spend enough time listening to people allowing yourself to be fed things that make you enemies to your neighbor, then your state of mind when it comes to your neighbor will not be neighborly, but will be that of adversity and of adversarial. And once you become adversaries, there is no more United States of America. So, I mean, you even had people one while there in the Republican Party suggesting that Texas should secede from the Union, and other parts of the country should break away from the Union. You should not. It's no way that you should, as the saying go, countenance, tolerate that kind of talk. You know, America has made a lot of enemies because America has been one of the consistent, even though a lot of injustices were done inside of these borders and has been done. You've seen America at least start or begin to correct some of those injustices and to stand against those injustices when they see it happening in other places. It's like one fellow who's an ex-pimp or hustler deciding to straighten up and go after the rest of them who's still doing it. What you think the rest of them want to do to that one? Naturally, they'd be mad at him, right? Well, that's the position America is in. So, you know, I want you to know I stand with you if you're for right. I don't care what color you are. If you're for right, you have me as an ally. You see, anyone who is for right should be for right all the time, not just when it's convenient. You know, it's just like anything that's what God made it. A pig is always a pig. A horse is always a horse. A spider is always a spider. He don't stop building webs just because he in a castle. He starts spinning his webs. Just the same as he would if he was out there in between two trees. Is that right? An eagle, he's always an eagle. A righteous man should always be a righteous man. A righteous human being should always be that. And the first step to being that is to acknowledge that that's what you should be. When you start changing the truth to make it fit what you want to do, it ain't the truth no more. Do you understand? The The one thing that I see missing in my generation and the generations that come after mine is that even in my father and mother's generation, if you saw a wino and you took the time to talk with him, he didn't try to justify what he was. He told you this, you don't want to be like me. Hey, you look at me, young blood.
Oh, man,
Yes, sir.
your voice fell back.
The wino would tell you, say, young brother, you don't be like me. He said, just look at me. And he'll tell you, I ain't nothing. And you can be better than this. Don't do like I did. Drug heads used to talk to me like that. You know, people wouldn't try to make their wrong right. Now, people try to make you think you crazy for seeing them do something wrong. They try to make you think something wrong with you. You see, how are you going to ever come back to the right way when, or to the highway when you done erased the tracks? You done convinced yourself that the right way ain't the right way. Which means you can do wrong and it don't bother you. You know what? You know why your conscience get on you about stuff that you do you ain't got no business? It's because in your heart of hearts, you know that what you're doing ain't right. So you can always repent. When you know that you're wrong and it keep bothering you, then sooner or later you're gonna say, "Oh man, I gotta stop this." But what happens when you convince yourself that right ain't right? Then whatever you do, you never apologize. That's where he at. That's where Donald Trump is. He don't have no apologies for nobody. Because in his mind, he can't do no wrong. In his mind, it's just, oh, that didn't work. I'm gonna try something else here. It wasn't about right or wrong. It was about what worked and what didn't. And you hear people all the time say, well, it works for me. When you tell them about something they're doing wrong and they can't argue, they just say, well, it works for me. And that is where the world is basically at now. People in their hearts have given themselves over to evil. And it's very few people that, even though there has been a famine of truly understanding the word of God, it's very few people that care. Most people, they're not hungry and thirsty for the understanding of God's word. They satisfied with the lies. This is the condemnation, that light of understanding is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. And in America, there was a time when a man that exhibited the character traits that Donald Trump has exhibited would not have even been considered for the office of president. He couldn't have even gotten on the ballot. With the mentality of a elementary and high school, junior high school, you think you can get on the ballot by coming out here insulting people? No, you can, no, sir. Yeah. Not in America. But look how you have fallen. This is some way out stuff. I'm going to show you something else that I recorded a good while back.
Wayne represented strength, he represented power, he represented what the people are looking today, because we have exactly the opposite from John Wayne right now in this country. And he represented real strength and an inner strength that you don't see very often. And that's why with this endorsement, it meant so much to me.
That was Donald Trump today at the John Wayne Museum in Winterset, Iowa, where Hollywood cowboy movie star John Wayne was born. There is no record of John Wayne being born there because John Wayne was fake. The name John Wayne was a fake name. John Wayne's real name was Marion Morrison. Marion Morrison rewrote his name so he could have a career playing fake tough guys in movies with a name that sounded just a little tougher than Marion Morrison. Today, the fake tough guy with the fake name, in effect, endorsed the fake tough guy candidate who built his tough guy image by pretending to fire people on TV. John Wayne's daughter endorsed Donald Trump today at the John Wayne Museum, saying that if her father were still around, he'd be doing the same thing. If you can see only one John Wayne movie, it should be Trumbo, starring Bryan Cranston as Hollywood blacklisted screenwriter Dalton Trumbo, who had a few run-ins with John Wayne, who was played brilliantly in the movie by David James Elliott. Bryan Cranston is nominated for an Oscar for his role this year as Dalton Trumbo. The movie reminds us that John Wayne, the real John Wayne, supported the 1950s witch hunt in Hollywood that led to the blacklisting of writers and actors and directors for their political beliefs. Some of them, like Dalton Trumbo, were jailed for those beliefs. Lives were ruined. The real John Wayne, Marion Morrison, is actually a mirror image of Donald Trump in one respect. Each of these fake tough guys completely ducked military service during wartime. Donald Trump during Vietnam and Marion Morrison during World War II. But that didn't give John Wayne any pause at all about playing tough combat soldiers in World War II movies, an irony that Dalton Trumbo relished.
You better wake up, because it's a new day. A new day. And maybe it's not for your kind. My kind? What kind is that? The kind that has no idea why we just won a war. That's curious. That's the second time you mentioned that. See, I was a war correspondent in Okinawa. Hedda's son was stationed in the Philippines. Eddie was in Europe with the Office of War Information. Where did you serve again? You trying to say something? No, Duke, he wasn't.
Stay out of it, Eddie.
If you're going to talk about World War II as if you personally won it, let's be clear where you were stationed. On a film set, shooting blanks, wearing makeup. And if you're going to hit me, I would like to take off my glasses.
Donald Trump was right today when he said this.
John Wayne represented strength, he represented power.
That's right. He represented strength, just represented it. He wasn't actually strong. Like Donald Trump, John Wayne didn't know what strength really is. So, yeah, John Wayne would have no problem endorsing Donald Trump.
So we remember that, right? Yeah. So, you know, you can say what you want, but the truth is still going to be staring you in the face when you try to break all the mirrors and muddy the water. You know, make no difference how you muddy water up. When you look in there, you still going to see yourself. Water still going to show you yourself. It's just like the people who followed Donald Trump's lead, calling Miss Clinton crooked, calling her a liar. But we know who the real liar is, don't we? As I said, I don't know neither one of them personally. I only know what I've seen through the media. But when I see the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Mr. Bernie Sanders, which I was openly supportive of, when I see all three of them come out and endorse Miss Clinton, that's good enough for me. Do you understand? I said, that's good enough for me. Now, I even see some Republicans, they ain't so much as endorsed her, but they said they cannot vote for Donald Trump, which shows that they do care something about this country. Some of them are saying they're going to vote for Miss Clinton, which removes any doubt that they care about this country. Certain things you have to take a stand on. So, you know, I spent this whole last couple of hours on this. And I think that I'm going to leave it on your mind like that. I don't want it to leave your mind. I want it to linger. And regardless to what you may think, you know, there's no such thing as an unsinkable ship. If you got the wrong captain, your ship going down. If he can't find, if it ain't nothing for him to run into, he might just run into some iceberg because he ain't had sense enough to navigate away from them. The Titanic went down not because it was a bad ship. It went down because the captain on it wasn't the right man. And they don't say that, but let's face it. If he had been more cautious, that ship wouldn't have sunk. So you remember that when you elect people to the government, You can put someone in there that can see, or you can put a blind man in there. But just remember, you're the one that gonna have to pay the price for who you put in there. Now, if you want a blind man for president, you go ahead and do that. But you're not going to be able to say you didn't know that that man was blind. Because every time he gets a chance, every time he's put in a position where he can show his presidential ability, he fails the test. I would have been disappointed in the president that's in there now, President Obama, if he had not came out and just told the American people the truth. This man is unfit to be president. And every time he opens his mouth, he proves that. So that there's certain arguments you don't have when you're the president of the United States.
Assalamu alaikum, son, man.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Have you heard what's going on over in the Philippines?
What they done did now?
The president has told the people in the Philippines that if they suspect or find anybody who's using drugs or dealing drugs, they can kill them, including the police.
Well,
America's supposed to be giving $32 million to the Filipino government of the police to train the police over there.
Well, understand something. The world is going mad because that's not the solution to the drugs.
And they killed over 700 some people already.
Well, you know, they
Cold-blooded, just out in terms of
yeah.
neighbor, and you suspect them of using drugs or selling drugs, you can kill them. That's the government told them that.
Well, that's not a government. That's a gang leader.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a government. And people got nerve enough to be talking about
to do it.
America. I remember the messenger said this about suicide. I mean, you telling your people to commit suicide when you do that. But he said, if I can't get you out of the fire, I'm certainly not going to lead you into it. If I didn't know no way to stop my people from doing drugs or doing whatever, I'm not going to say kill them. I'll just say, look, this job is too much for me. Do anybody else know anything? If I can't find some counselors that can give me some kind of clue of how to help my people, I'm certainly not going to say, let's kill them all. When you understand that a man's mind is what tells him to do the things that he does, then you should understand that you need to deal with that mind, because that's how you heal the whole body. And the right cure for all of the diseases that's in our hearts, in our minds, is the Word of God. If you take in the Word of God, it will heal you. God's Word is the perfect medicine for the human heart, for the human character, for the human condition. All we have to do is take His Word in and act on it. It's just like the Jesus said. He said, "He that believeth on me, as it is written, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water." Now, that's what it said. Now, let me show you something here. In the book of Numbers, I was going to cut it off, but I better reinforce you. So I didn't know that that was happening in the Philippines. It says, this is the 12th chapter of Numbers. Starting at the 5th verse. It says, "And the Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud." Now, think about the word pillar. Lot's wife became a pillar. Is that right? Became a pillar for the righteous to always remember that when God tell you, "Follow me and don't look back," don't look back. Remember Lot's wife. That's one of the pillars. Another pillar is that you must believe in all of the prophets and in all of their clouds, their scriptures. The Lord came down in the pillar of the cloud and stood in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. And he said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in what? In a dream." Huh? Oh, yeah. So, all of the prophets were dreamers. Huh? They have a song that says, "Let the rivers run. Let all the dreamers wake the nation." And it said, "Oh, let us come, the New Jerusalem." That's a powerful song, powerful. And it's right on time. Why start off, "Let the rivers run"? Because rivers come from the sun melting the frozen water, and it began to trickle down, and it makes a river. And as Allah told me, "Son of man, eat the book up so that it'll be in your belly." Out of his belly shall flow what? Rivers of living water. That's because I believed on Jesus. I believed on God when I believed on Jesus. As Jesus said, "He that believeth on me, believe not on me, but on who? On him that sent me." You see? So I believed all of the prophets. And all of them collectively are Allah. And so Allah speaks to me through them. And so, as we look at these terrible things that's going on in this world, these people are gone crazy. That's all that can, it's like a car was not meant to drive itself. The human being was not meant to guide himself. The human being was made for one purpose: to fear God and obey him. And by obeying him, the human being becomes pleased with himself as he pleases Allah. Because he soon learns that what pleases Allah is to see the human being at peace and pleased. So, they have not even thought about the fact that even when you're in your car, you don't get no joy out of wrecking your car. You get joy out of parking it and keeping it clean and keeping it able to do what it was made for. That brings you joy. And if the car could talk, the car would be thankful. But anyway, I mean, people don't know that to please Allah or to please Allah's representative, you wind up pleased with yourself. When you start guiding yourself, that's when you get in trouble. The evil that come to you don't come from the guidance of Allah's messenger. It comes from you guiding yourself and deciding that you can do it your way. Always remember that. You don't have nobody come back here blaming their problems, their troubles on me. I didn't lead them to that. They led themselves to it. Do you understand? When you walked away from me, your trouble started. It didn't start by you being with me. It started by you leaving me and going on your own. See, if I do my job right, you never know what you were saved from. Because what would have happened to you didn't happen to you because you was with me. That's just the truth. You may not like to hear it because you got in your mind that you can do what do things your way. You in a world of people who doing things their way. And what our sister just say, over in the Philippines, the so-called government done told his people, if you suspect somebody of doing drugs or dealing drugs, you feel free to shoot. Feel free to kill them. Whatever happened to law and order? Whatever happened to humanity? So now every citizen is judge, jury, and executioner? And what are those people going to be doing while you killing them? Sitting there just waiting on you? He's inviting revolution inside of his own country. Oh, I want you to remember. Listen when I'm in these classes with you. Take in what I say and carry it out with you and act on it. Be not hearers of the word only, but doers of it. You do to people what you want people or what you would like people to do to you. All right? You would like people to respect you? Respect people. You would like people to leave you to live your life in peace? Leave them to live theirs in peace. Don't go around breaking people's peace. And if you do that, even those who don't particularly like you will be at peace with you. But if you go around trying to call yourself correcting people that didn't ask you for no correction, that's why you ain't have no peace. You don't try to guide people who didn't ask for your guidance. Now, if they in your place, you can tell them, hey, I don't allow that in here. Please don't do that in here. And most of the time they will say, oh, excuse me. And then they go. It don't require no scowling at them or no, you low down so-and-so, don't do that. It don't require all that. You ain't got to call them out their name or nothing. You just make a request that they don't do that in here. And they won't. And they can't be mad at you either. They'll just leave. You don't see me out on no street nowhere preaching. I let people go about their business. If they got something they want to ask me, I tell them I'll be on the air. Tonight, won't you call in and ask your question so everybody can get the answer? That way, if you come in here, I know you came in here because you wanted to hear what I had to say. Then I will share what I have to say. Out on the street, people ain't particular about hearing what you got to say. So let them live their life, and you give them an invitation, and then you go on about your business. All right? Okay. Now, are there any questions before I let you go? Well, and may Allah bless us and keep us safe and in our right minds. Like I said, I wanted to leave you with that on your mind. And, the whole country should be asking about the mental stability of Donald Trump. All right. May Allah's Salam alaikum.
Our conference recording has stopped.